Critically acclaimed director Edgar Wright, mastermind behind what we consider to be some of the greatest movies of all time, makes his return with the psychological thriller Last Night in Soho. The movie is a clever amalgam of drama, suspense, and thriller with a splash of horror, but it still left us with some head scratchers and chills from some very intense scenes. In today's video, we're breaking down the freakiest moments, plot holes, what inspired this movie, and more. First, the movie at a glance. Standing tall with an impressive 7.1 IMDb and 75% Rotten Tomatoes rating, Edgar Wright's modern psychological thriller revolves around Eloise Ellie Turner, played by Thomasin McKenzie, best known for her role in Jojo Rabbit, a soft countryside 60s loving girl from Cornwall who has dreams of becoming a big-time fashion designer. Ellie finds herself moving to London to attend the esteemed fashion school she was fortunate enough to get accepted into. Upon arriving there, though, she quickly realizes she doesn't fit in with the glitz and glam metropolitan girls, especially her spiteful and snide roommate, Jocasta. Decided she deserves better and needs to take care of herself, Ellie relocates to a dingy room in the top floor of an eerie and creaky house run by a peculiar Miss Collins, played by the late Diana Riggs in her final role, just north of Soho. Shortly after Ellie moves in, she begins to have dreams envisioning herself as glamorous blonde-haired singer Sandy, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, popularly known for her role as Beth Harmon in Queen's Gambit, trying to make it big in the swinging 60s. However, as time passes by and these visions and peculiar dreams of Ellie's become more frequent and vivid, the lines between fiction and reality begin to blur, and she finds out the hard way that there is much more to Sandy than she knew, and in ways that are sure to leave chills running down your spine. Now, let's look into the freakiest moments. Okay, we know this movie is a psychological thriller, so it's bound to have its fair share of spine-chilling moments, but that doesn't mean we were ready for any of the upcoming scenes. of the movie we're about to mention. Now, without any further ado, let's get into it. Side note, we're definitely going to be thinking twice about moving into a major metropolitan city because of this movie. First, we have the chase scene. As the movie progresses, Ellie becomes increasingly determined to save Sandy. And this scene exemplifies her fixation. Ellie chases her apparition around the streets of Soho after spotting her on the streets. Ellie quickly finds herself pursued by the spirits of Sandy's former lovers. When Ellie eventually catches up with her, Sandy just shoves her to the ground, leaving her defeated and sad. The sight of this young woman sleeping in an alley in the rain demonstrates how deep she has sunk, since her horrific visions appear to have absorbed her whole existence. Next, that jump scare. Ellie has a vision of a man stalking Sandy as she sleeps in bed in this hair-raising scene. Ellie leaps to her feet and attempts to stop this man from doing the unspeakable to Sandy. She then wakes up in her bed, registering the fact that it had all been a dream. When she reaches over to switch off her alarm clock, though, the guy reappears in front of her. Our hearts are still beating at an insane rate because of this scene. Up next, the almost assassination. This scene demonstrates how far Ellie has strayed from reality. The heroine is once again visited by the ghosts of Sandy's male customers as she searches through all of Soho's prior murders for information about her. She resolves to maintain her ground after attempting to run from these specters by stabbing one of them. She only realizes that the person she was about to attack was none other than her old roommate Jocasta after John intervenes. Another is the jaw-dropping plot twist. Ellie sits down with her landlord, Miss Collins, after deciding to leave London. When Ellie discovers that Sandy is truly Miss Collins and that she has been alive the entire time, the discussion takes a complete 180. Furthermore, she discovers that Sandy killed Jack in self-defense, prompting her to seek vengeance on the males in her life. We observe her assassinating her male clients and concealing their remains beneath the floorboards and inside the confines of her building. We all knew this movie was about men's widespread maltreatment of women in our culture, but this twist demonstrates how it can transform a young lady into a cold-blooded assassin. Next, we look at harrowing hallway of horrors. Sandy is invited by her boss, Jack, after a night of working as an exotic dancer, to spend the night with one of his male acquaintances. She rushes away from him through a backstage corridor after declining to do so. From there, we see glimpses of her fellow dancers suffering from drug addiction to prostitution, which serves as a chilling foreshadowing of the new life Sandy is about to embark on. Next on our list, Sandy's new lifestyle. Ellie has visions of a half-dressed Sandy laying on her bed, being solicited by several male clients while she sits in her apartment. It's a harrowing look into her hypersexualized new life as a prostitute, with Sandy using a variety of aliases to conceal her true identity. She loses more and more of herself, just as all of her customers do, and she and Ellie are tormented by horrific male figures. And now, Jack's demise. Ellie approaches the man she believes is responsible for Sandy's death, despite the fact that she appears to be the murderer. He dismisses her accusations and argues that Sandy wasn't the pure saint she believes her to be. The guy is subsequently killed by a car in a startling twist, revealing that he wasn't Jack at all, but a retired detective who investigated the red light area. He was even the one who attempted to save Sandy from her life as a prostitute. So not only did Ellie fail to discover Sandy's killer, but she also unintentionally killed an innocent guy. Next on the list, Sandy's brutal murder. When Ellie returns to her apartment with her love interest, John, for some more alone time, she notices Sandy being held down on the bed with a knife by Jack in the ceiling mirror. Ellie urgently attempts to stop the image from becoming a reality as it advances from the mirror to the actual bed. But when she watches Jack repeatedly stabbing Sandy to death, the makeup session turns murderous. The tension in this scenario is increased by Miss Collins pounding on Ellie's door, enraged at her bringing a boy home, beseeching pleas from the past. To no one's surprise, the climax of Wright's harrowing psychological psychological thriller takes the cake for the freakiest and most skin-creeping moment in this movie, and for good reason. Ellie escapes inside her room to escape the fury of the deadly Miss Collins, only to be assailed by the haunting spirits of the men Sandy murdered. They all smash their way through the floors and out of the walls, pinning Ellie to the bed. However, when she reaches for the phone, the spirits unexpectedly beg her to save them and instead put an end to Sandy. These specters were horrible men in their lives, and they are still unlucky victims of Sandy's violent rampage. What inspired it? Repulsion is one of Wright's favorite horror films of all time, and he affirmed that it was the major influence for Last Night in Soho. The film depicts the account of a young lady who is horrified by sex and is tormented by unsettling images. It was Roman Polanski's debut American film. The influence of Repulsion can be seen so clearly when Ellie's trip in Last Night in Soho continues, and she is tormented by memories wherever she goes. It's a fantastic illustration of Wright's ability to recreate pieces from the films he enjoys with his own distinct vision. Other things that Last Night in Soho can seem to have found inspo from are subpoenas, color schemes, and a set from 1961's West End jungle. Now, for some questions we need answered. Is Ellie a participant or mere spectator? Throughout the movie, we see Sandy's life through Ellie, who appears to be sharing her body, but some scenes in the movie leave the audience puzzled about what her role actually is. In one scene, we see Ellie watching Sandy perform, but in another, we see her have a hickey after Sandy makes out with Jack. At multiple points in the movie, she is seen as both a viewer and also a direct participant of the events that take place. So what is the truth? What connects the present to the past? Ellie is seen being transported to the 60s throughout the film, but one thing it fails to make clear is what is that gives her access to these memories and time. Sometimes we see her walk through a door and find herself on the streets of the 60s. Sometimes we see her walk through a door and find herself on the street of the 60s. Other times she seems to quite literally walk into the past through the closet door. The connection remains an enigma, but we think the best theory regarding this is that the room itself in which Ellie resides is the portal. It would make sense seeing as how Sandy's victims are able to enter Ellie's room. That's all we have for you guys today. If you watched the movie, what do you think of it? Is it some of Wright's best work? Worst? What moment did you find the freakiest? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments. See you guys next time. Bye!